Oh, I'm gonna wait for this to sound off. All right, so evidence today. Base knowledge.
I really need to step it out.
Hang on, I'm trying to get you back.
I don't need you since we don't want to hear that. That sounds like a private conversation. That's always a danger with me whenever I zoom into something. What's going to happen here? Where I was in, well, I'll tell you guys a couple stories while this is getting going. I'm trying to remember where it was. It was some type of university in the last couple of weeks. You're on campus at a Zoom thing. I don't think it was departmental. But anyhow, as I'm having this meeting, I'm in my living room, your kid coming out of the bathroom kind of thing. Luckily, my wife is home. Kid going, I had an accident over here. Like a man, George walked through the house just completely bare ass naked. I'm like, yeah, let's not do that. That's not cool. Thank God I'm turned towards the wall. Otherwise, that's going to go viral. No. So, yeah, be very careful with those things. It's sort of like Zoom. I think I mentioned last time. It's like those cameras, you have to be very, very careful with those. I make jokes about it, but it's like sometimes there's real stuff to that. Yeah. I can tell you about last university. There was a meeting. Luckily, I wasn't at, but the guy who got up at a meeting, all he was wearing was a shirt and underwear. So you got to see tidy whities from a guy who was a pretty big guy. So it's kind of a scary sight, is what I heard. I didn't ask any questions. Like I didn't even want to know that, but I figured it was traumatizing enough. I'd share it with all of you. So all right, let's get rolling. We'll get a couple more slides. All right, so we need to talk about base knowledge stuff for evidence. So we'll go through it's a little bit of overlap with criminal law. Some of that stuff you need to know here, you need to know there, and I want to make sure that you guys, are well set and carry that stuff with you. Because at the end of the day, whenever you go into work, any type of job that you have, there's everything that's on that computer there, everything you can acquire, but what you have in here is something that actually matters. That's what makes you unique. So the more things we can get in there, the more things you can leverage and use to your own benefit. With that, spotlight. Yeah. Okay. 6 minutes. We'll start rolling into the chapter stuff. Probably next class. We'll probably just shoot the breeze a little bit more for this time, so we can do this pretty good. You mentioned I was going to do biographical stuff for everybody today. Talk to everybody. But my classes so far, I kind of got off topic and I was doing space knowledge thing. People, I ran out of time. I think I might do that again. Just make everybody email me because I don't have enough emails. Now, what'll happen is with the big flux email, create a new system for scheduling those or sorting those for this semester, which is good. You should always be revising. Here, things that we need to start with. Probably the big one that we need to start with is we'll echo criminal law because I do it over there too. We'll start here. Courtroom. Way in the middle of things, just jump right in. That's gonna be like way in the middle. By the time you get to this point in time, you've invested so much time, so much energy. There's so many files, so much information to sort through to make sure you're keeping everything where it needs to be. Most people just think about this when you get in court. Got everything leads up to it, of course, everything after. But right here, who's going to be involved in this process? Courtroom processes, if you look in the courtroom itself, who will you see?
Plaintiff.
Okay.
Defendant.
Prosecute. Let's say. Defense itself. Then you could also say, depending on your level, you could be doing a plaintiff. You start getting a little bit more towards the civil system over there. You could also have the appellate system where it's say LE. Of course, my spelling's gonna be awful, something like that. And so there's titles for that. So you got two parties involved at any point in time. So there's at least two parties kind of thing. So there's going to be an argument. I like this. Everyone needs to learn how to argue. It's like learning how to fight. Fine. If you argue with someone, you don't want to learn that when you're arguing with someone. Same thing for a fight. right? You guys have been in fights before. I know that you have. Anyone not been in a fight before? Oh, no one's gonna lie to me. Okay, good. Hey, good. All right, so you got this going on. Okay, who else is there?
Witnesses.
Yeah.
Judges.
Witnesses.
You got the referee, you got the judge.
Judge, yep. They serve the role, basically they are a referee, making sure the processes are followed, the laws are followed. That, and to kind of get into an idea, it's like, this is also evidentiary stuff too, to some degree too, there's gonna be things that have influence on it. Yeah, major influences. It's like, if there's a violation that takes place in procedures, he points it out, the law's not being handled correctly, he points it out. To include so much so that you can get to like instructions for things. And it's not presented in the right way. It's like we can validate the entire thing just based off of something like that. There's a lot to keep up with.
And the jury too.
There you go.
They
Jury,
deciders.
yes, they decide. Okay. That one. Everything. One. No, good. Worried me for a second. I think I'm double booked for some reason. That wouldn't make any sense. Okay, so we've got a fight, a referee, and an audience. The ultimate decider, take to watch, right? Good. Let's see. We talked a little bit about this last time. If I didn't, we'll talk about it a little bit more. There's gonna be some points I want to hit here. Okay. For this class, this is gonna be one of the most important people. One of the things that they do is they're a vehicle for evidence. It's sort of like, I almost said narrative. Like, you probably heard that word a lot recently, haven't you? The word narrative. Narratives over here, narratives over there. It's kind of get a lot of arguments and things. And kind of seeing how we resolve it up here is a better way to kind of handle it than what I was going to go decide. These people, what they'll do, call them in. They give their testimony, right? They talk about things. They just kind of tell you what's going on. Depending on what kind of role they serve, they're going to give you different information, different things are going to take place. They provide a bit of a story for the overarching story that you're telling here, because you're spinning the story. At some point, if you're taking a side, there's a story involved. And people are going to be playing with that landscape to try to present it in their own way to their own benefit. These are a vehicle for evidence. As they're talking, that's whenever stuff will get introduced in. That's one of the reasons why they're so pinnacle for this area. Why they're more important than that is there's some contradictions here to pull out. So we've got some things going on here. Got a ref, matters of law. These people are fighting for sides. These people decide. Witnesses. Vehicle for evidence, very, very useful. What do they swear? Yeah. Sorry, bad joke. Witness. They come in and they give an oath affirmation kind of thing. Okay, why?
So you're not encouraged to commit perjury usually?
Okay, so we have this thing perjury. That's a bad thing. What's another word for perjury?
Lying?
Yeah. I hate lies. I also never tell a lie. That was a lie. I don't know. I get confused with this stuff. It's really confusing stuff. necessary to address that thing. When you make your oath, what does this thing do?
Like a contract, kind of.
Kind of contractual. With whom?
The court.
Sam. Of course, the individual himself swearing it, so. What else is it they're doing when they make that oath? We are in the South, right? You guys nervous to talk about something? No? Maybe? You just don't know where I'm going, do you? Can't tell. I have a hard time telling. Because things are weird with communication. It's one of those things that probably something that you guys have noticed in your generation. I noticed even more during mine because there's a little bit more open whenever I was your age. Is how hesitant people are to talk about things if they think that there's some type of weight involved related to it that might get them in trouble for something or something. It's like there's none of that here. We have to talk about stuff. This one, though, the word I wanted to see if anyone would bring up. You could use this one. This is the one that usually comes up a lot, but it's not really got anything to do with just specifically that. It's something bigger than you. Right? When you go and you make that affirmation, that's that oath. It's not just you. There's something bigger. You can do this one, that's fine. It doesn't have to be that. But it's not just that. There's a word, another word I like. Honor. Honor is a big one, right? When you start getting into these legal things, one of the most interesting things to see with people is how fast things balloon out. Kind of thing, because they blow things up pretty quickly if you know how to do it. Quite literally, that's what the point does. It boom. It's that time thing. Time of it. That thing right there. If you lie on one thing, that thing is completely invalid. Right? Okay. This is one of the biggest things right here. This, to some degree, is going to touch into people's elements, their understanding of maybe more like what investment you're putting into it. Those who people say that belong, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I really don't know anything about that. What I do know is what I see people do. They'll say this and they'll do something completely opposite of what they're saying they're going to do. You'll run into that a lot. This thing's really, really interesting because of how it works. Communication is a very, very, very difficult thing. I've said this before in a lot of my classes. Sometimes I'll go into and I'll bring in the logos, pathos, whatever the hell, but communication people. It's triangle, you've probably seen that before, yes. I talk to somebody, I send a message to you. I have to get an assessment triangle. Triangles. Meaning there's some interpretation that takes place anytime we communicate. We have to make sure that our interpretations to some degree align. There's wiggle room there. Always. There's wiggle room there. That means there's room for miscommunication or what's the better word I'm looking for? Malevolence. There you go. Malevolence. That's the word. Right? You have malevolent bend. It's like you can swim the place without come in. You can see people do this a lot. It's a ballooning thing. Like, yeah, you got that. Not really that. It's that word honor. You'll do what's right. That's the most important thing related to these things. I'll make that evident for the next conversation because that next one's gonna do this next part. Okay. So we're talking about that oath, that contract. When they make that contract, what is it they're swearing to do?
Tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Truth. There you go. I always like to start out with this whenever we do legal stuff, just because you get to see what I mean in terms of there's something real and there's something that people do. So people do real things, but there's also some stuff that's like, I don't know if it's like stacking of lies or something like that, where it's just things go way off into a negative place very, very quickly. That's because someone's, usually if you have a group of people, it's like something in that group has gone awry. But this thing, it's that right there. People like to lie, right? It's like, how many people do you know will completely tell you anything that they've done that's wrong? It's like, yeah, not very many people. Like, that thing right there. Hold that thought. We'll jump over here for a little bit. Jury. What is it they decide? Ultimately, you get to guilt or innocence, yes. But like everything else, it's cumulative in nature. That stacking game starts up again. Everything's, okay, let's see who's making the bigger pile of wood here, or whatever it is that you're thinking, however you want to look at it, it's the same kind of thing. They make a decision. They're making that based off a whole bunch of other decisions related to everything that's presented before them. They've got to bring it all together and come up with something to identify. This is what looks to have actually taken place. In my earlier class, I mentioned Descartes and doubt. No, that's this thing too. The thinking is required. They decide that word right there. Fact. They are triers of fact. These are triers of law. These people are sworn to tell the truth. Right? Got three things there. There's that shape again, that triangle. I like it. At least three things most of the time. Because this thing right here and this thing don't always align. I'm telling the truth, but by God, it doesn't straight in line. All right. Well, it's how I presented it, maybe. It's that whole truth a little bit to some degree. To some degree, I'm human and I err. Holy shit. I didn't see that. Well, yeah, maybe I did lie. I don't know, that's a perception thing. I just wasn't paying attention to that. Or maybe it's worse. I don't want to look at it. It's common. A lot of things people don't like to look at. This thing right there. If we were doing the numbers thing, I'd give you this number. You can put a number to anything. Quite literally. That's methods. If you haven't taken that class, you need to. Numbers are a good way to start doing that because when you start dealing with numbers, you're dealing with something also substantive. But we classify in a different way, having two different ways that we're looking at it. Start pulling out some differences there. Here, like if you had procedures is a good example. If you're in it now, Greg will talk about it. And when we get to it, if you have had it before, we'll say it's probable cause. Over 50%. It's just more than likely that you committed a crime. That's all it needs to be arrested, to be charged. Right? You can find yourself sitting in a jail cell for the next few weeks because it's just more than likely you did something wrong. That's it. That's the threshold it takes to get in the system. It's a very easy threshold to cross if you really think about it. But if you get in the history of it, you'll see it's like, well, actually, it's a whole lot better than the way we used to do things. And so you've got to work the middle ground sometimes. There's going to be times where you have to make those hard decisions. You're going to have to make those lines in the sand and see what they're at. This one's a good one because that one's literally a mathematical one. If you start looking at correlations, if you're dealing with any two things, get over 80%, it's the same thing. Right? If I dealt with income and house size, you're going right here. Right? You make a lot of money. I got that extra money. I'm going to get a better house to show off. Whatever. Don't care about that. That's what people do, though. These things are not synonymous. They're very, very close, though. Whether it's individual misinterpretations or whether it's purposeful, that's the thing you got to pull out. Good luck with that, because that's going to be a very difficult thing. You have to use, basically, it's, if you're looking at like this computer structure, what you'd say is, I'm going to network every computer I have together to pull in all of that processing power. That's these people right here. That's what they do. Something so important. You can't have any one person make that decision. It's got to be a group of people. It can't just be a group of people just at any point in time. There's got to be this whole system for how everything is presented, so that way that it is fair. Otherwise, it is not. This right here. That's one of those bases of the pillar right there. These things. Not always the same thing. But we still have to find a way to functionally move forward and move in a good direction. That isn't easy, especially if you can't quite tell where the ground is that you're standing on. Why use so many people? That's a big one. Okay. Next one. You're just- Let's see about that one. Some of you know what I'm getting ready to do, I think. So I'm gonna ask you a question and leave you to what you have inside your heads. Why it's important, why it is you carry it, not your phone, not your computer, not anything else. We'll say 10. 10 things. What am I gonna ask? Say it a little bit louder. Who said that? Yeah, say it louder. What are they? Mhm. Specifically, what are they? Amendment 1 is.
Freedom of speech.
Religion.
Press. And,
A lot of processes there. Speech, assembly, press, petition. Okay. That religious element, that's the thing that they're tying into that, those things. That's actually really, really important. That'd be like saying, okay, can I subpoena your, before I do that, I'm actually gonna put in a couple more caveats because it'll make it extremely specific. Let's say you're a Catholic person and you go through the whole disclosure of wrongdoings. I forget what they call that. Sit in the box you talk about.
Confession.
Yeah, there you go. You can start confessing. You are literally giving that person direct information about the things that you've done that are wrong. Can I go speaking to that person? Why not? They're not attached to you. They just know about it. If I go and I tell you, hey, I murdered someone and I left their head 300 yards out that way, I think you're gonna go tell somebody, right?
Yeah.
You should, and if you don't, what happens?
I'd be compliant.
Yeah, you're now a party to it. Good job, right? Okay. How the hell do we manage that thing? I don't know if we got permission thing. That's gonna come up in this witness thing. Right? That specific relationship will come up, because if we start doing things like that, what we have done, this thing goes away because my entire eternal salvation is dependent on the fact that I have to tell this person these things, and if I don't, I'm going straight to the fiery pit. Good job. But yeah, these things matter. You have to look at more than just what's really here. You have to put yourself in the individual shoes of every individual who's going to be in contact with this system. That's every person that exists. That's not an easy task. Good luck with that. There's the first set. Realize that people have been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years, and it took us that long to get here. I'll show you that more specifically when we get into the timelines for stuff. The book has some ones where they start to get into it. I forgot what book I had. There's a number of books I've read. I need to find, there's one in particular, I can't remember the guy's name. The name Wyden stands out, but it's not that person. But they give a full breakdown of exactly how long, and it goes all the way back to ancient Egypt. That's where it starts, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, these concepts we start dealing with. They pick up just as soon as we start collecting into groups. As soon as we start doing that, we need these things, otherwise people die. Right, quite literally. You got a dispute, we can argue it, we can do that, or we can fight. Seems like we're doing a whole lot of that in this world right now, right? We need to get away from that and move back over this way. Okay, that second one, you guys know what that one is. We've been talking about fighting a lot. Arms, there you go. Arms. Here. Also. People are gonna look at those two different things. Additive. You can assemble over here, you can have arms, and it mentions militia. You can have militias too. Good job. You need that. You're gonna need that. Okay. Third one.
Quarter intruders.
Yeah,
It's illegal.
no quarter given. No quarter taken. That's what it is. Historically, those with power just come and take, to include your homes. We got soldiers here, you got a house, get out, give me your food. One, oh, if you don't, I've got a rifle right here, or a bayonet, or maybe it's just a big axe. I'm like, yeah. You can leave or I can cleave. There's your options. Good God. I'm like, that's that one. That one's come back up again. If you read most of these books, if they're more than like 3 years old before COVID, they'll make reference to this is basically atavistic. It's a derivative of old culture, no longer relevant to anything whatsoever. And then you jump right into COVID. Oh my goodness, you own a house, you're renting it out. It's not yours anymore. Good luck with that. Oh, and we'll see how that stuff's going. Hop over to any populated area and see what's happening with squatters generating fake invoices, fixing things in the house that they broke while the house was abandoned, and now it's basically their house because they can establish they paid money for it. They generate a false lease. Now you're in the legal system, and it's going to take you years for you to get that sorted out. Yeah, you don't have that house anymore if you own it. It's not that person's. Good luck. Your options there. You can call the police. Odds are you'll probably get arrested for harassing that person in their home because they live there. You don't. You just own it. That's pretty messed up, right? That's going on right now. Right? Your options there. Well, at that point, the system fails. Really, what ends up happening is you go into that dark ground. You see a whole lot of people are doing evil things related to that in terms of I'm going to force you out. And what will end up happening is that continues. That argument fight thing becomes that war thing, and people will get violent. It's like that we don't want to have. 4.
Right to privacy.
Okay, this is going to contain privacy. Privacy is actually bound across a number of these things, but this is the one that really gives it teeth. Okay. What else?
The search and seizures.
Yes, this is all search and seizure stuff. So if you've had procedures or you're in it now, like we'll spend probably about half the semester on Fourth Amendment issues because it's that important. That's coming and taking, right? It's also your ability to move. How free are you at any point in time? Well, if you're free to get up and leave, that's pretty damn good, right? There are many instances where you're not, and things can get worse from there. Let's see, what else? Search, seizure. Here's where you'll find the infamous phrase probable cause. That's in there. I will also tell you everything about persons, papers, events, all that good stuff. And gives you an idea for processes. You really get into it. 5th.
Right against self-incrimination.
There you go.
Right to remain silent.
Self-crim. Silence, maybe. And then, let's see, what else? So you've got, between this one, technically, if you get the actual term due process, this is where stuff gets really weird. It doesn't come with so much for it in here, I don't think. It might come up in here. I'd have to look back at this book. It's been a year since I've looked at it. That one will come up a lot. I know it comes up in procedures a lot, or not procedures. It's procedures. I've been procedures. Because, yes, procedures. Due process is how you incorporate these things and show how they actually manifest reality in the legal system. I'll talk about that in a second. Between these two is where you find a lot of your jury rights. Trial by jury and self-incrimination, right to fair and speedy trial, legal counsel. What else am I forgetting? They got that in here. I think counsel, technically, they tie it to this one, even though it's mentioned in here. I think this one's speedy trial. But at least between these, you'll get also jury trials. Okay. So you've got all that. 7.
That's hard.
I don't remember that one either.
That wasn't the draft, was it?
I don't remember. I'm completely going blank on that one. I just see a blank page inside of my head. That one's empty. I guess I need to go back and read that one myself.
Is it kind of like the 10th Amendment though?
The ninth and tenth are real similar.
Or
So-
9th and 10th?
Mhm. So between the
Oh,
ninth and tenth, and down here, between these two, that's gonna be rights not enumerated at basically state and federal kind of thing. Just because it's not enumerated here doesn't mean that you don't have it and that state sovereignty exists. So anywhere that we don't specify something, that's gonna go to the states. Yes,
Rights in civil cases,
I can hear you.
rights in civil cases,
Okay, is that 7 or is that
7.
civil stuff? That's why I don't know. I'm not a big civil person. I'm not very nice to people in general, so I'm not gonna be civil. 8, everyone knows 8?
Yeah.
Yes, cruelty and bail. Cruelty and bail. Good. All right. Much more than those things involved, because it's gonna have a whole bunch of stuff surrounding those things, but those are some of the basic concepts that you'll see there. Here you go. Rights. Not enumerated, I'm gonna misspell that. And state sovereign, I'm not spelling that right either. So those things are going on. 14th Amendment. That'll come up in procedures. I can't remember if it comes up in here. Basically what it is, you start getting a little bit over here, rights not enumerated. We have these rights, they're in the Constitution. For us to see what they actually do in practice, there has to be a case that has to do something with it. And it has to be brought before the courts, right? So basically what ends up happening is anytime that you have an initial outset for like, did this person actually get a right to counsel? It's gonna be a 14th Amendment and like a 6th Amendment issue. It's like, did this actually take place? Was due process actually met for this? Did you get what you were due? And did you go through the right process? If not, we'll fix that. And so anytime you get into the history for these things, which is a lot of procedure stuff, it'll start with the 14th Amendment issue. Like, yeah, did you have a trial, a jury trial? It's like, well, maybe. Did you have counsel? Well, if it's a day before and we appointed it, that's not counsel, depending on what it is. That kind of a thing. Okay, so that's base knowledge here, base knowledge there. Let's see, what other things was I thinking about? Let me look at something real quick. I kind of looked a little bit at that PowerPoint there. Do I have it in here? Of course I do. Let's do this then. Boop. Boop, boop. And it's been a little bit since it's been 2 years. Good golly. One, here we go. Outline. We'll see what's in this thing. This is what I'm gonna have to do this time. Okay. Yeah. That thing right there. Okay, you heard me mention a number of references to 1215 AD. That's that, the Magna Carta. We'll do a little bit of history there. What is the Magna Carta? You know, it's important. You've heard the name before.
The first document that they really gave a person certain rights. Like, is it an English thing?
Technically, I think, was that one Frankish? Germanic? I think it's basically in that region. It's the Germans and Franks.
Western Europe.
Yeah, but it's European. Basically what that did is, if you haven't had a chance to read it, you should. Because what you'll see there is one thing that, you know, what people say that something does versus what's actually there is not always in alignment kind of thing. And so you have to kind of read into it to pull out the insights that people have seen. The biggest one. I'm gonna write this word up and pull it up. Buying and selling. I think this is the word they actually, I don't know if you might make reference to buying. I can pull it up pretty quick, actually. Let's see here. Magna Carta. I wanna see it. Magna Carta, you can give it to me here. You're just gonna talk about it. They, okay, that doesn't help me any. I don't speak old, whatever the hell that is. Magna Carta
PDF.
document, there we go. Okay, they're giving just a summary here. They get it right here, though. The law is the thing you put at the top, pinnacle. It's not who you are. It's this thing remains the same. It's the buying and selling of rights, that kind of thing. What you're talking about, property holders and that kind of thing, and the exchange there, favoritism. As you read it, it'll talk about that. It'll talk about, I'm trying to remember the exact term because it's been a couple years since I've read that. That's kind of hard for me to pull back out. Kind of do with property, it's gonna have to do with any fines and things like that that might be levied, and using that as the way to exchange rather than following the right processes. No one is above the law. Everyone should be treated equally. That is the biggest thing that it did, and that is only 800 years ago in all the history of humanity. That's a pretty big one right there. We're gonna stop treating people special depending on who they are. Let's try to keep people kind of the same and deal with the actual situations rather than the person, making it based off of how much I like this person. We still have problems with that. In criminal law earlier today, I mentioned there are 3 ways that people tend to attack any type of criminal case. What types of things do they focus in on? They focus in on the. Maybe I don't have anybody.
The history of the case.
Close. There's 3 things in law that they always start out talking about. This is the general categories. You argue the facts are in your favor, you argue the facts. The law's in your favor, you argue the law. And if neither in your favor, you destroy that person's character. You destroy that person's character if you're trying to get a conviction. And if you can get them to hate that person enough, they might punish that person just because they don't like them. Right? That's what people do. You look at the overall structure of government in general. It's like, if you really look at it, that's the big danger. It always has been. As we sort into groups, sometimes we decide we don't like certain groups and then we go after them. That is a really bad thing. Doesn't matter what way it goes. Here, with this thing, it's the money thing. It's the same thing as the criminal justice thing. It's like power. It's like, you got a stack of power. You got a criminal justice system. You just have a stack of money. It's like, you see people, they'll take that and they'll use that to crush other people, whatever way they can if they're ones who like power. That's not what we do. That isn't it at all. We deal with the situations as they arise. You deal with them in the right way. You try to follow the processes and deal with the situation as the individual thing there, not the people involved themselves. Custom tailor it in that way, you're going to do it incorrectly. It always fails that way. Because, hey, I'm friends with you. If I help you out, it's going to benefit me. Really like me even more than I like you. And so the more I can help you, so long as you're aligned with me, we can go crush you or you. Because now there's 2 of us and just one of them, hey, that's stacking up in our favor. I'm going to take over. No, that's not what we do. Yeah, that's a big one. Really want the direct language, but I don't want to take the time to sort through all that stuff in a few minutes. Let's see. Other things we need, base level knowledge. The first one is going to be the most abstract. That's that spirit of it, what it actually is, what it means, what it's supposed to do. That's we're trying to resolve errors. We're trying to make sure that society can maintain itself. And the way that we do that is to assist and deal with individual issues as they come through, criminal or otherwise. If we do it fairly, everything works. If we don't, it doesn't. Yeah. That being said, people don't always do what they're supposed to. Those who want to do something wrong, do whatever they can to make sure that they can. That's going to be hiding information, that kind of stuff too. So that's going to be involved in this. And you have to be able to prove who's doing what, when, and where. Right? Ultimately, you arrive at some type of agreement between that truth thing that people were giving you, those fact things that you can tell. Maybe. If you don't, though, society fails and it doesn't exist anymore. That's the stake in the game. This is an important one. In terms of moving forward, because we're just about out of time. Yeah, that's not too long. I didn't get that small stuff. Here's what I want from you. If we talk about term papers in here, I can't remember if I've listed one in the syllabus, and I need to update the syllabus in one of my classes today. I mentioned it last class. I did not get time to sit down at the computer immediately after class, so I hadn't had time to sit down and focus on that yet. So I'll be doing that probably next week. Hey, you're interrupting class.
Huh?
You're interrupting me. So what's up? Or we need to meet up for that report stuff?
You got like 1 minute left.
You're every minute. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep it that 1 more minute.
What are you talking about?
Right now it was base level knowledge. We're just talking about the Magna Carta, that kind of thing. Because apparently they've never read it.
Have you ever seen the Magna Carta?
Apparently it's kind
Have
of.
you ever been to Washington DC? How many of y'all been to Washington DC? You ever see the Magna Carta? You know where it's at? If you go to the Library of Congress, they've got on the floor where they've got the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, all that stuff, right? Well, just be the only dude, the smartest dude on the planet, and just go down one floor right below it. They may have a security guard there, they may not. But they actually have one of the original 5 script crop copies of the Magna Carta.
I did not know that.
And so when my mom and everybody's up there looking at the Declaration of Independence, I was nerding out on the Magna Carta
That's awesome.
down on the,
That's awesome.
on the second floor. But there was 5 original copies of the Magna Carta made. You go to Washington DC, you know, Declaration of Independence, yeah, Constitution, who gives a shit. Magna Carta is from like 1500 and it took the stage for all that.
Yeah.
It is setting right down there for you to look at.
Yeah.
Just FYI,
That's really cool.
I'll sit out here and wait.
Okay, it'll be 1 more second. I'll get 1 more sentence. So what I want you to think about, we'll talk about term paper stuff next class. What I want you to think about that Magna Carta thing. Place yourself in the shoes of the people there in the time. You live in a world where everything is basically, it's like you are either property or you're a property owner or you're a serf. If you're a property owner, you can manage stuff and everybody gets to live. It's beneficial if everybody lives. So that specialized treatment between those two groups kind of works really well and has been for all human history. But for some reason, someone decided to make that change and treat everybody fairly. Because of that, we have society today. Any one of you can do that for society right now if you want to. You just got to keep your eyes open and see what we need. Right? You can get to work on it. As we're going through this class, keep your eyes out. And if you find something that's interesting to you and you want to work on it, start letting us know. Right? We can start getting you pointed in that direction. Cool? All right. Get out of here. Everybody go away. Fine. I'll let you have 3 minutes. Just a little. Have a good.